Hey everybody, welcome to something new that we're doing. As many of you are familiar with this program that we do. We call it A View from Here. Well, we can't get up in the tower right now. We all can't stand close to each other. And Alexandra pointed out that if we did, her camera lens isn't wide enough to get us all in with the 6 feet thing. So we cooked up this idea. We're calling it The View from Zoom. And so here we are today. We're all in our spots. We're in the places where, in our offices and our homes. And we're here today with a special guest, Mike Nutter, who is the head of the TinCaps. And I mean, this thing that we all love, the TinCaps, and Parkview Field and all that kind of cool stuff. So Mike, welcome to our first View from Zoom. It's good to be here with you.
Thank you very much. Likewise, it's an honor to be here with you as well. I'm a fan of yours and your church and your campus and congregation and the many great impacts you guys have done, not just in downtown, but around our entire region. So thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it is really our pleasure. I got here in 2012, the fall of 2012. And I think that's when really Parkview Field was just kind of starting to take off. And it's been great to be here with you guys, I mean, to be part of the excitement of Parkview Field and, baseball and all that kind of stuff. So
that's awesome. We feel the exact same way. And I can send you some of the thousands of complaint letters we got before people thought. No, I'm kind of. No, it's been so great. Sometimes it feels like sports have maybe too much prominence in our society, and I'm a believer and love talking about my faith and things like that, but the sports has helped our region in this regard of kind of being a catalyst downtown with some of the other stuff that was going on in the region at the time with the expansion of the Grand Wayne and redoing the embassy and things like that. And Fort Wayne's always been a great place to live, work, and play, but the downtown was just a little bit dead at night. And so we had a chance to come in here, and on a normal season, when there's no pandemic, we would play 70 home games, and the vast majority of those would be night games and things like that. So it's really been great, and we've been welcomed and embraced by all the downtown neighbors, because early on we weren't sure, hey, do people want us to come down? Are they going to be mad about parking? And I remember Kelly Updike from the embassy, who's just so great at what she does, putting her arm around me. I mean, this is 15 years ago, saying, you're welcome here. It's good if the parking lots are all full at the same time. That's a good thing. And it's carried through for 11 awesome seasons downtown, and then this one, whatever this one is right now.
Yeah. I have this friend back in Virginia who's an architect, and one of his specialties is college and minor league baseball fields. I mean, that's what he
very cool.
Or one of the things that he works on. And he says, he did some work on our church, and he says, building a baseball stadium is like building a church. And he equated the two things to being the same, because he said, it's both, they're places where people gather together and they share their hopes and dreams.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I like to hear that. I've never heard that comparison, and hopefully neither of them are just for an hour a week, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But I think what you do, I've been amazed that, sure, we like the TinCaps to win, but really going to Parkview Field is both about the baseball, but about being a community together.
There's no question. We think that it probably in reverse order.
Yeah.
Where it's, for a lot of people, it is the community aspect of it, the fellowship aspect of it. I hear from people, I hadn't seen somebody for a couple years, and then I ran into them at your game and things like that, where again, as believers, many of us on the staff, is it family friendly? Is it the kids safe? Do families feel safe coming in here? Try and prevent the objectionable behavior and music and that kind of stuff. And we believe all those things. But beyond that, is it just fun? Is the food better than just quote unquote ballpark stuff? Is it a place that you want to be? And people, again, this is a unique time that you and I are talking. I think that's the understatement of the year, but it's on a normal year, people would say to us, a question I get in public speaking, what keeps you up at night? And no reason to answer that right now, but normally it would be, the forecast. And then kind of tongue in cheek, but also we are at the mercy of the weather. And then beyond that, I would tell people really complacency, not letting up, not letting the staff let up. And I don't mean that in some ego play, like it's up to me, but I mean, we can all equate it to, I went to a restaurant and it was really good. And then the next time I went back and it was okay. And then the third or fourth time, it was just, I don't know. Or I'm a horrible golfer. Of everybody you talk to in this series, I will be the worst. Let me stake Clayton to that right out of the gate.
We should go together then, friend.
Good. Have fun together, tell some jokes, and want to go back together. But people have said, I don't get the restaurant thing, but I played a course one time and it was the best. And then the next time, and things like that. So we try and keep things fresh and new and good entertainment and pop culture promotions and things like that. And that's what we do, because some people absolutely live on the baseball aspect of it. Mm-hmm. And then others that tell us, quite honestly, I understand you're playing baseball, but man, we come for the fireworks and the food and to see people and just get out. And I can relate to that. In our household, we have a freshman and sophomore over at Homestead High School. And, family time is tough. Everybody's going in different directions. I don't want to offend the movie industry or anything like that, but my idea of good family time is not you'll run into that and then not talking. And we do that. Right. Let me make that clear. I want interaction, and it's tough enough to get people off their phones and, interacting and things like that, your comment means a lot to me with that comparison. I've never thought of it that way, but it's kind of neat to hear. And so much of it is just not the baseball. It's kind of therapeutic and get out in community and socialize.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We've noted, and I'd be intrigued to hear you say a little bit about this. We've noted that you all over there are trying to be more than just a baseball field, and that includes the baseball, but then everything else that happens at Parkview Field. That's really, it's really impressive. And that Parkview Field and everything down there interacts with us as more than just, the baseball season. Right. We're over there, we do this funky thing on Ashes to Go, usually on the most miserable.
Yeah, love it. When this idea first came up, I said to Holly Rady, our director of special events, I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Mike, I know you're very familiar with Ash Wednesday." I said, "You got that right. I grew up going to a Lutheran Church, Missouri Synod congregation in Northwest Ohio, Napoleon, Ohio." I said, "Very familiar." And she laughed and she said, "Ashes to Go." And I said, I love it. In this day and age, nobody's got as much time for this or that, and partly that's tongue in cheek, and partly that's reality. And so, you know what, Pastor? When we set out, this is not like, hey, bragging or patting ourselves on the back. That's not what we do. But it wasn't going to be just 70 baseball games. And so, early on, listen, I can admit my faults, and there are many of my mistakes. Early on, I wasn't sure at all about this idea of, again, under normal circumstances, what do you mean the ballpark's always going to be open to the public? Aren't people just going to get on the field, and aren't people going to do this or do that? And sometimes they do, but 99.99% of people that walk in here want to snap a couple pictures or walk around for a workout or a walk or, different things. And so, and then internally, some of us in the leadership team, and that's many of us in the leadership team, believe that I am saved by my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and that is the single most impactful thing in my life. And so it was not, and to be clear, I don't use this term to be negative, and I know you won't take it that way, but to say it to a pastor is unique. We're not always, here necessarily, preaching to people or different things about that, but it's like, hey, this wasn't set out to be just baseball. It was set out to be family friendly. Well, that doesn't necessarily have any faith component to it, but we wanted to do things, and we've had to walk from concerts that probably could have made us a good amount of money over the years. Sure. But we just didn't feel like that, hey, 364 days a year, we're the TinCaps and we're this and we're Parkview Field and we're that, but we're going to do this. And that isn't to suggest that we don't make mistakes. We do. When you entertain 500,000 people a year, you're not up to your standards. You make mistakes, and we believe in the accountability to it and say, you know what, that person was right, or in this specific instance, we didn't meet our standards, and we're going to not do that event again or not look at it this way. And we think that's what it's about in a community our size.
Sure.
Where faith matters to people, but also so do the relationships and the accountability. Yeah.
You know, in some ways, you may or may not know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, in normal times, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have the church open. Anybody can come in, and it's not, you know, it's not church service. Nobody's there to preach at you. We have some greeters who are there to welcome you into the space. But it's about how do we allow people to interact with that space on their own terms.
Yes.
And with their own hearts and you know, hearts and minds. And, you know, and it's much the same way as what you all do over there that, you know, and people were like, oh, somebody's going to steal something or they're going to break something. You know, we believe most people are good people. You know, 99.99% of people are good people and they mean well and they want to be well. And, you know, it's the same thing. Let them walk through, you know, let them engage, you know. And I think that's what really, you know, that's what makes it.
Been a greeter during open doors. That's what we call it. And I've seen plenty of people that have come in and they just, the fact that we even open our doors as a church downtown Fort Wayne, people are just like, that right there is creating community. You know, you know, you accept us.
You are exactly right. Guys, I've only told this a couple times over the years, but one of the coolest memories that I have in 11 years at Parkview Field and 29 years working for minor league baseball teams all around the country is a letter I got. I would never say the name, but you could assume maybe the biggest employer downtown in Fort Wayne. One of their people emailed me and said, Mr. Nutter, I'd like to say thanks for everything you guys are doing. And I laughed and I thought, well, I got to keep reading this one. A lot of the letters out that way. You introduced me as team president. Sometimes I say I'm the head of the complaint department because it feels that way. And the person went on to write this heartfelt message that because the gates to Parkview Field were open, that she had just gone over 125 pounds lost.
Wow.
And we're clearly, let's be clear, we are not taking the credit for that. This woman did all of the work. But her letter went on to say, I always came up with excuses why I could not walk downtown, why I couldn't run. And I knew that a lot of them, her words, not mine, I knew a lot of them didn't hold much water or merit. But when you guys said that you were going to open, and again, I said earlier, I was not really in favor of that at the beginning because of what some of your people said. Well, won't people steal or can't somebody do this? And so my point is to be open, like you just said, with community at your church or here, of somebody walking a handful of times over the years. I've walked up to somebody on the concourse, not during a game, in a beautiful empty stadium. I bet 3 or 4 times I've seen people in tears. And I've said, is everything all right? And I will then hear, my dad was the biggest baseball fan you'd ever met. He loved coming here, or he loved going to Wrigley, or he loved going, fill in the blank. And baseball has taken some hits over the years, some deserved, I think. But right now in our society, with everything going on with the pandemic, you know, people are looking for things that they're comfortable in and things that they feel safe around. And unfortunately, a lot of church doors are not open right now and our gates have been locked up. I had a guy reach out the other day, Mike, when can you open so we can get back in there and walk and run? We need it. And it's like, I need it, but right now we're not allowed to, and we have to follow the rules and the social distancing guidelines.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, hey, so it's springtime. And we're all here drumming our fingers and just like you. So what's up? What do you see? Take out your crystal ball and tell us what you see for this season. Or, I mean, I know there might be things you can't say, but
Yeah, no, I understand. No, I'm going to be totally transparent. I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough to play. I'm hopeful. I am hopeful that there's some way that instead of 70 home games, maybe we can play 30 or 40, starting in July. I'm hopeful, but I'm realistic. It's not our decision to make. It's Major League Baseball's decision. All the players are our players are all San Diego Padre players, and so we hope so. We hope that so many times in our country, sports, not clearly to the level of the church, obviously, but sports have been they've been part of the healing. And I remember after 9/11, the tragedies in New York and in Pennsylvania and in D.C. And all around the country and world. I remember that World Series with the Yankees and the Diamondbacks, and it went 7 games. And I remember former President Bush throwing that first pitch out there, and the country came together. And, I hope sports can be a part of that. Selfishly, I hope that the TinCaps can be a part of that for our town and county and region. We don't know yet. We're hopeful. If that happens, great. I think we've got some new social distancing guidelines we've got to figure out. I'm not sure in 2020 we could put 9,400 in here like we did last July 4th, but just something to get people back together would be great. Short of that, maybe Major League Baseball can come back and play in stadiums without, fans and stuff, at least at the beginning and maybe throughout, for people to have content to look at and watch, and maybe it can help our game get some fans back.
Yeah.
And again, if we're not blessed or able or lucky enough to play this year, and again, to be clear, we're not at that point, then we've got to figure out what can we do in this venue. Again, it looks like maybe after July 4th in our case as a large venue designation, but what does that look like? When can we, open up the doors? And admittedly, as the local leader of this franchise, I work with 32 great year-round full-time people, 10 more college interns that came in, expecting to get great experience from a widely respected team, us, and that's not going that way. And so, I'm trying to, as cliche as this sounds, keep the band together and keep people here. If there's not a season, and again, my last disclaimer, we're not at that point, but if it would go that way, Pastor, we're looking at 19 months of no games from September of 19 to what could become, not has become, but what could become April of 21. That assumes that things look good by then. I believe they will. Again, that's in my prayers daily, that we get a antiviral, a vaccine, whatever that looks like, and people can really get back in large groups. That's just tough. I mean, a lot of teams have laid off a lot of great people that are really good at what they do, and that really, I mean, I sound like a kid in this statement. I don't mean that negatively, but like, it's nobody's fault here with our staff that happened. But now we're looking at, people filing for unemployment that never could have fathomed that being on their agenda in 2020. And we're learning a lot. And admittedly, as a believer, as I've said a few times, I've struggled at times, not in my faith specifically, but I was trying to figure out the why, the where, the when, all these kinds of things a few weeks ago. And again, I've been out there with my life over the years and mistakes I've made, and I've always dealt with stress and anxiety. And for the first time in my life, I feel like it crossed over into that depression for me. And it's my job to lead positively here. We're not guessing. We're not making assumptions about people's incomes or what's going to happen beyond certain dates. But personally, as a believer in leading my family and this organization, I can't get so caught up in the why, the when, the how, the what. I just need to have faith. This is a surprise to our God. Now, I don't know that I understand everything right now going through it. I can say that in the same breath. But I'm not trying to figure it all out right now. I'm trying to lead and be in His Word more than maybe social media and things like that. I've got a personality where I need to feed the positive. And that's, in a normal time, working this industry is tough.
Right.
with the schedule that we have, and I'm at my weakest when I'm tired, mentally and physically fatigued, and don't make the best choices and don't act like the best husband, father, leader. And now it's just a different level of stress. And so just trying to be there for people and be that positive guy that I normally am in good terms,
Yeah.
but this one's tested me. And again, like a lot of people that might hear this and resonate, I haven't met the mark sometimes. And so that's what's on my heart right now as we're going forward.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you know, we're all hoping, you know, for and trusting that there are good days ahead. A few of us have gotten further along on our Netflix queue than we ever thought was going to be possible. So we are definitely waiting for for the TinCaps to be back. And you know, but more than anything, you know, as a transplant to Fort Wayne, thanks for being there, and thanks for what you guys, you know, you've been gracious enough to thank us for what we do, but thank you for what, you know, helping to make it a great community, making Fort Wayne a great place to live. And we're glad to be your neighbor. I mean, we're proud to be your neighbor. Yeah.
Thank you very much. You made my day with that. These aren't positive times, but that means a lot. And together with you and us and a lot of other great people down here, we are doing our part. And although we've gone down swinging over the first month of the season so far with no game, we're hopeful about what 2020 can still be. And unfortunately, if it would go that way and not in our favor, we're going to be back and better than ever in the future. And the people will come back. And so there's been things even during these tough times where we've done some stuff with the Community Harvest Food Bank, and we're doing meal kits. And this isn't a plug. This is still trying to figure out how can we impact in the community. Can our staff go in and do a blood drive because we need things like that? So this is home to us, and that sounds so cliche, but your words resonate. They mean a lot, and it's truly appreciated.
Well, thanks so much. It's great to spend a few minutes with you here, and great to have you join us. And we look forward to everybody else joining us again soon on The View from Zoom next time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.